On today's episode, we will be talking to Ken Reil about trademarks and copyrights. You're going to want to listen. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this week's particular episode, do us a favor. Whatever platform you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple, whatever that looks like for you, would you please take the time and give us a review? Share the show, tell your friends, tell your mom, even if your mom is an in Print on Demand cast, tell your sister's best friend's dog sitter's cousin. Just spread the news on Facebook. Help us get the algorithm under our control to get this information out to where it needs to be. And as always, joining me on this episode and every episode of the Print on Demand cast, Travis Ross. Travis, how's it going, man? It's a Tuesday. Happy Tuesday of this particular week in which we record. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm hanging out, having a beer and
Nice.
just enjoying life. In the Print on Demand game.
Tis the season.
Oh, you're having a lining kugels. Which one is that? Is that the summer shandy?
Of course it's the summer shandy.
We've had so much rain. How can you justify drinking a summer shandy?
We've had so much rain that it's on sale, which is why I bought it. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's not a June gloom shandy, so I guess it doesn't really fit. But hey, I'll tell you what, I want to say it's from New Belgium. It's like a sparkling sour mimosa beer or something like that.
Okay.
Recently at a friend's house when we were watching Game 2 of the Nuggets versus Heat, and it was delicious. So I need to find that, and we can try it. Maybe have a couple cold ones when we catch up. But hey, listen, today on the show we have a guest back again, Ken Reil, and man, there's so much good stuff in this. I don't even know if we need to necessarily highlight the typical, what do you think the listener should be looking into or whatever. I think everything. Just listen. And then this is certainly one of those things, one of those episodes where you are going to want to go back and listen again because it is so incredibly rich with information and just knowledge on trademarks and copyrights and just everything. So I say we just cut straight to the chase and let them start feasting on the knowledge. All right, let's go to this week's main event with Ken Reil.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, excited for this episode because we have a guest. And I feel like it's been a long time since we've had a guest. And it's actually been a long time since we've had this particular guest on the show. We do have a returning guest. Last time was episode 9. So much has changed and stayed the same since that time. We're excited to have Ken Reil back with us. Now, for those of you that are listening that don't know much about Ken, or maybe you didn't listen to episode 9, which we encourage you to go do, Ken Reil is a print-on-demand seller on multiple platforms, as well as running the Trademark Watchdogs Facebook group, helping to make people aware of how the industry is addressing trademark trolls and other areas of interest to POD sellers. So it is with great pleasure that we welcome back, even though he has a Vegas background and not Colorado Avalanche, but it makes sense because he's from Vegas. But nonetheless, Ken Reil, welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome back. It's great to have you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Yeah, man, we had you back on episode 9 and talked a lot about copyright and trademark, and you schooled us a little bit and shared stuff. So yeah, I just totally encourage anybody who hasn't listened to it, to go back and check that out. We're going to be kind of talking a lot about that because that is one of your areas of expertise, but you do a whole lot of other things. So, you were on episode 9, over 135 shows later. How are things going, Ken?
Going really good. I mean, plugging along. It almost feels like a little bit of semi-retirement unless I spend too many hours on Trademark Watchdogs. But, I'm still floating all over the merch communities and some of the Etsy communities now, sticker communities. It's fun.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll get into some of the other stuff you're doing that is relatively new since the last time we had you on. But before we do that, we have a little part of the show that we didn't have when you were on last time, and we like to call it the weekly dad joke. So you let's roll that bumper, Josiah.
Let's do it.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right. So Ken, you're the guest, so that means that you get to bestow the dad jokery upon us first.
All right. How do flat earthers travel? On a
How do
plane.
Flat earthers on a plane.
I like it. I like it. So, all right. So there's a new dating app that caters specifically to arsonists. Every week you get new matches. There we go. That is this week's weekly dad joke, a twofer for those of you that are listening along with us. So yeah, we've grown up apparently, because dad jokes weren't here in episode 9, but they are now. So if that says anything about Travis and I's maturity level,
It's gone down.
it's regressed.
It has. It has. Yeah. As we've gotten older, we've gotten younger in our sense of humor. So Ken, some of our longtime listeners may remember last year I traveled to Las Vegas and to attend the licensing show. And one of the reasons I didn't cancel was because I took my wife with me and we had a lot of fun. But the other reason I didn't cancel was because you were actually presenting. You were a finalist in some contest that they had. I don't remember all of the details, but it was for your brand, Monsters and Martians, which you're wearing the hat right now. Can you tell the listeners, like, how did that come about? How did you get into this contest and like become a finalist? And then we'll find out like how your experience was too.
Well, I mean, I've gone to the licensing expo for probably the last 6 years.
Okay.
And it's been a lot of fun. And of course, when you sign up every year and register, I just happened upon that they have this license this competition for new brands or new categories or new characters. And last year they had a brand category and a character category. So I figured, why don't I throw it in? I threw in my entry and, gave my summation about my brand, the summary, and, the some of the art and things like that. And the next thing I get a response back, then one of the 3 finalists for my category.
Yeah.
And that I'd be presenting live at the licensing expo, and a panel of judges would be judging the winner, and the winner would get a expo booth, which is this year at the expo. And it was fun. It was a good experience. You go up, you present. You had you had 5 minutes to present. Sad thing is that I went first, and the first person is always sticking himself to that 5-minute timer, and then you watch the next people blow the timer with 10 and 12-minute presentations.
Right. But, yeah, I remember you brought me a hat and a shirt to wear. We were kind of like your entourage. There was a couple of us that were there with Yang was there.
Yeah.
And we were passing out,
Monster sticker packs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you even had like a really cool skateboard that had, some of your brand characters on it and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I, watched the whole thing. There was a lady that was doing something with bees, and I feel like it was like targeted towards children. And then I don't remember the third one.
Yeah, I don't think you would remember.
Maybe that's, yeah, she probably came third. But I remember like afterwards. So, spoiler alert, Ken didn't win. And I think the bee lady won.
Yeah.
But as you were you told me afterwards, as you were talking to some of the judges, it was neck and neck.
It was recount time. Like, is that right? And I actually had some judges saying like, I don't know, like how'd she win? And one of them said, "We'll see where her brand is in 3 years, and we'll see where yours is in 3 years." You know,
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of people even message me, and people I didn't even know that were just watching and within
Oh,
the
wow.
industry, and they're like, "Dude, I thought you should have won that." And
Yeah.
I mean, well, you saw the presentation when you were
Yeah.
there, but
It was
anyway,
very cool.
it was cool. I think the most valuable thing that would have come from that would have been a year's worth of mentoring with the judges. That was
Sure.
part of the package. Was, you know, how wonderful it'd be to sit down with. One of them was like the VP of Redbubble, and you know,
Wow.
Yeah.
brand licensing company this that handles Coca-Cola, and you know, to sit down for an hour and say, hey, what kind of a blueprint would you use on on this brand if it was
Yeah.
you? You know, that kind of, you just can't buy that kind of information,
Right.
Yeah,
unless
for
you're
sure.
networking and doing all that stuff. So
Yeah.
Wow.
you want to know the surprise though?
Yeah. Yeah. You told us before we started rolling that there was a surprise that came out of this thing. And I said, don't tell me. So you
Well,
guys are.
I go to the licensing expo every year, and of course I'm going to go this year. It's always in Vegas, and it's next week actually. And so, was it about 2 months ago? I get an
Mhm.
email from the licensing expo staff, and they said the staff would like to invite you to enter in this year's contest. And because I wasn't going to
Oh.
do it, I'm like, that's kind of cheesy, isn't it? Part of me wanted to throw one in just to spite them, but anyway, the staff emailed me and said, yeah, can you enter? We'd like to see what you can present. And this year the format has changed. It's all one category. It's all judged online. There's no live presentation before judges. It's
Oh,
all
wow.
judged beforehand. There's going to be 4 finalists and 1 winner and 3 runner-ups. And you got 7 days to put it in before the deadline. So here it's been open for 3 months, and they're like, yeah, here's 7 days. Do you want to submit an entry? And I'm like, I might as well. And format was a little different. You only had the executive summaries and the 500-word write-up.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, a few of the links, and then a 3-minute video that you could give them. And so I submitted it, and I don't know, a week later, they're like, hey, Ken, you're one of the 4 finalists.
Wow.
Wow.
So next week, actually, I have a meeting on Thursday with them that they're going to go over the rundown of how it's going to work with us for about a half hour. And Tuesday at the opening keynote of the the licensing expo here in Vegas next week, Tuesday morning, the opening session, they're going to announce who the winner is and who the 3 runner-ups are. And so they've now announced who the 4 finalists are. And the winner, of course, is going to have a booth next year, and all of the judges' stuff and all that fun stuff.
Same prize package.
Same thing, except the runner-ups this year will actually have their brand on like a pop-up banner at the expo, and they'll be having mentions throughout the expo. They're not going to get the booth next year, but
yeah.
So anyway, I'm on the ride. I've seen who the finalists are, and half of me is like, are you jerking my chain? Or did you not have enough entries? Or
Yeah.
7 days left to ask me, can you re-enter? So I got hope. I'm hoping I'd really like to win it. The booth would be nice, but a year's mentorship would be even better. So that was kind of the surprise, was when you were mentioning the expo in last year. Yeah. Well, I'm the finalist again this year.
Well, that's awesome, dude. Yeah.
So,
wow.
So for our listeners who have no idea what, the licensing show is, and then also what Monsters and Martians is, can you just explain a little bit about, what your brand is and what it entails, sure, and then why it makes sense to go to a licensing show in your particular case?
Sure. Of course, the licensing expo is 21 years of age and older. It seems like a playground with a lot of the Hasbro and Mattel and Lego and all these big fun brands. Mm-hmm. But it is a show for licensors, licensees, brand agents, people looking to pick up, licensed products and things like that, and new ideas. And so mine fits in the category of, I'm not looking for licenses. I'm looking to license my product out, like my art. And Monsters and Martians is a horror-based It kind of goes from the roots of psychobilly, horror punk type music up through rockabilly, classic horror, the B movies, and can branch out into, just all kinds of weird stuff. I've got a Facebook group, or not a group, but a page is the biggest. It's up over 100,000 followers right now.
Oh, wow. That's super cool. Super cool.
So it's apparel, it's stickers, it's hats, and the idea with the licensing expo is to be able to have, I've got about a catalog of over 1,000 unique images now, hand-drawn images that, maybe it's Vans shoes or Burton boards, or, where could you use this horror kind of art? Where could it show up, and finding ways to make deals. And I hadn't pushed it really hard. Entering the expo contest last year was kind of, hey, if I win this, maybe I put this in overdrive. I didn't do too much on it last year, but this year, I think win or lose, I will probably seek out a brand agent to build out the brand, and then start searching out different products. It's as simple as things like McDonald's puts the Smurfs on their cups. They signed a licensing deal with the company that owns Smurfs to co-brand the stuff, and Monsters, I think, would be the same way. Like, could you get, you might get companies that want cool patterns of monster art, and you would, be paid to supply them with that kind of art. So.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I mean, I've seen the art. It's really cool. And you've got like hundreds of like characters.
Oh, yeah.
It's super cool. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Josiah's bringing it up.
Yeah, getting into like Rat Fink type stuff, and this is some of the psychobilly influence stuff. But take the Live, Laugh, Love and turn it into something cryptic.
Yeah,
oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
The group now is up over 100,000 members. I think when I presented last year, it was about 70,000. So we've grown by, 40,000 in the last year. And there's
That's
an
amazing.
Etsy. I've got an Etsy store going, and it's got coming up on 5,000 sales with perfect 5-star reviews. And I print my own stickers here in house, print my own posters. I'll outsource things like apparel, but it's just absolutely fun. And it came from doing merch by Amazon and doing very well with that, and getting sick of Valentine shirts and dad shirts and golf shirts, and I make good money on merch by Amazon just by letting it roll. Well, let's go do something fun and build something cool. So that gives you a pretty good idea. I mean, there's some pretty fun stuff.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
very hard to copy. It's a very unique lowbrow style. If you zoom way in on it, you'll notice that it is totally rough hand. Pen and paper, ink and paper, and scanned over and colored, but I mean, it just blows you away. Some of the stuff, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Josiah's showing
awesome.
me the Etsy store right now, but you guys go out and check out Monsters and Martians. Maybe you'll actually end up purchasing something, because it's really freaking cool art, and Ken, you done a really great job with that brand.
Hopefully we win next week.
Yeah. Wish you all the luck.
That's awesome. You have to let us know. Maybe we can do an update, just a quick, point of interest update to see how that went for you this next week. That's awesome.
But like I said, for me personally, and I think for anybody listening that's thinking of doing a brand, the value isn't in having the booth at the expo. The value is having these 5 or 10 judges that are experts in the industry, having their email for the year and bouncing ideas off them all year long. That's where it's at.
That's an incredible, like you said, it's hard to monetize that value over and above what you get in the prize package, but just having contact with those folks, having their ear to just throw stuff at would be huge. Another thing that we've heard since the last time that you have been on the show is that you got into Walmart. We've talked a lot about Walmart on the show. I know Travis has done a few podcasts with folks talking about Walmart. It seems like the new shiny object. Maybe it's the Wild West like Amazon used to be. Who knows? But how is Walmart going for you up until this point, Ken?
Not bad. I mean, it's been a learning experience because it's Walmart.
Sure.
I mean, and it's not completely like Amazon, as you guys would know. and there were, hoops to jump through. And that was tying back to my brand, was a lucky thing, because I signed up as my brand and was able to get exemptions and things like coffee mugs and exemptions and all apparel, which is really good, because then I'm not trying to attach SKUs to every size, color,
UPCs,
shape, UPCs. Yeah. So, I mean, it's because it's custom to me. Nobody else has it. Nobody else is allowed to sell it. So it's not bad. It's all right. I mean, I don't know. I've probably got 200 listings up just on coffee mugs. I'm about to start putting some shirts up. I'd probably get 3 or 4 a week,
Okay.
But I haven't really pushed it. I haven't, hammered out tight SEO. I haven't looked at their ads and things like that yet. So I don't know. It's nice to grab, right? To get a spot on the floor and start chucking some stuff up there.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And the thing I always say is, like, a lot of these things, they take time to kind of propagate throughout the algorithm or throughout the sales channel.
Yeah.
So, if you want to sell something, you're probably going to start off really slow, and then hopefully it'll catch on. And I think that applies to your accounts too. So when you list a bunch of t-shirts, you've already kind of primed the pump a little bit with your coffee mugs, and then you launch something else a little later down the road, and it just kind of it can snowball from there. At least that's been my experience on products we've listed on Amazon. And
one thing I've found with Walmart, though, is that really shocked me was their response time to get back to you on problems. I don't know if you have the same thing, but it's like, holy crap, I'm actually talking to somebody,
right?
And not a boo in India. I'm not slamming India, but I'm sorry, your support sucks.
Yeah, that has a case that has an
answer, and all you're doing is writing bot answers.
Yeah, it's a copy paste project for the Amazon people. But in Walmart, maybe they just haven't gotten that far yet, and we just need to wait, and eventually they'll start copy and pasting their answers for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I didn't even have my first product up, and I had an account rep holding my hand through the process.
Wow.
And I was running into a problem, and she's like, yeah, you just email me. And it was like 9:00 at night. She's from New York, so it must be midnight. And I sent an email 5 minutes later. She's like, yeah, I'll look at that for you in the morning. I'm what?
Yeah, that does not happen on Amazon.
I'm like, wow.
That's wild.
So if you can keep that up when you actually get your real warehouses and stuff and distribution, like fulfilled by Amazon going, boy, that would be something else. Sellers would just love it. Maybe I'm just different. I don't know if you're getting the same response, but I'm not getting bot answers when I ask for support with Walmart.
Totally. I've noticed a huge difference in the support. I haven't utilized it a lot, but my one of my VAs has, and I can see kind of some of the things that she's doing, and she's getting real answers, not just copy paste. It's totally
there's
different
bugs and things like that in their system that drive you nuts, but
you
know what, hey,
I've had multiple things sell that the listing page will show one thing, the SKU will be for the thing on the listing page, but when it pushes it through to us, it changes the SKU.
I know.
And so we send them the wrong thing, and it's Walmart's fault, but we got to fix it,
I know. And you get the ding on your account for sending out a proper product.
Right. Yeah. But I think they're, and Josiah will echo this, they are way better than they were 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was painful. Their back end was horrible. It's so much better now. They're getting their ducks in a row. It's just, it's taken some time, and they'll continue to get better. I was curious though, what was your process for getting accepted? And like, did you run into any challenges with that? Because I've heard, we've had people on this, the show that could never get accepted. And then we've had people that got accepted and it was really easy. And so I'm just curious as to what your experience was.
I mean, I followed when you put up the link. It's like, Walmart's now accepting sellers. I jumped over there because I had heard it was really tough to get on. And then they said, hey, they're actually opening the doors. So I jumped, and it was like, bang, you're accepted. Answer these questions. And then I had to go in for the exemptions, and the exemption for the mugs went through pretty easy. Like, we just had a couple of questions for you, and bang, it was in. And then the apparel got rejected, and I resubmitted for an appeal, and it got rejected again, like just ignored. And that's where I went to that account rep. I said, hey, what's going on here? Like, this is custom stuff. And within 20 minutes, it's like, your exemption's been approved.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
that's stellar customer support. My goodness, that just would never happen on Walmart or on Amazon.
Never.
That's wild.
And even with Amazon, I'm lucky enough to have the ear of some of the merch by Amazon, which isn't Seller Central, but merch by Amazon. I've known staff for years, and I know the director and one of the ops managers there, and it's nice to get some answers, but they still can't. Hey, let me jump through this hoop for you and do this for you. I mean, they're still tied to the whole Amazon culture. So,
wow, yeah. That's you don't have the Amazonians, as it were, don't have the autonomy that Walmart is displaying for us right now in their support. So, get in while the getting's good, guys, because who knows how long that's going to last.
Yeah.
So before we get into what I really want to talk about, I'm just curious, what else have you been up to? Like, have you jumped on any other channels? Have you, what's the, the last year been like? I know you were focused on Monsters and Martians, but then you said you took a kind of a hiatus from that and focused on other things.
Well, not a hiatus, hiatus in the sense that I wasn't pursuing hard. Like, I started talking with some brand agents after the expo. I wasn't pursuing the signing a deal type of thing or signing an agency type of a thing. But as far as what I've been doing for work, it's been Monsters and Martians. And on the side, I haven't been signing licensing deals, but I have been working some collaborations with some pretty cool people. Like, have you heard of Dirty Donnie? He was he's the artist for Metallica since like 92.
Oh, wow.
So you see the crazy finked out characters from Metallica. He's the one that drew them. If you go search Dirty Donnie, he lives out in Palm Springs, but he's working with me to put all of his art up on my merch account, doing kind of a split. And the other one that I got three of them. One was Dirty Donnie. There's Odd Rods, which is from the 60s and 70s, the weird, funky stickers, kind of like the Weirdos and the Rat Finks and the Odd Rods. Their art to go up on shirts on Amazon with merch by Amazon. And then another guy called Spicy Donut. And so, getting their art and putting it up and doing kind of a split on the royalties and things like that.
Well, that's cool. So you're kind of acting as a publisher for them, and then just paying like splitting the royalty with them.
Yeah. And then the idea is to take their audience and my audience and start contaminating each other.
Yeah. Have you jumped onto any, I'm just curious, have you jumped onto Shopify, or do you have a Monsters and Martians website?
We do have monstersandmartians.com. It's just kind of a holder shop. It is a Shopify. We just threw some stuff up so that with all of the social media links for this licensing expo that's going on next week, so that and they can flip through some of the categories, but we haven't really finalized the about us and all this. We've got 40 listings up just as a placeholder, and then we'll start refining it. So
okay, yeah, because I could see you doing some collaborations even on your Shopify side as well. If it works on merch, it's going to work on.
But this gives you another idea of some of the art that's going on. So
because something like Shopify, obviously, you're getting all of the profit, and so if you did some type of collaboration with some of these other guys.
One of the ideas we're looking at for the actual website is doing a subscription box.
Oh,
that's cool,
dude. Yeah, doing a monthly subscription or a quarterly subscription. Like, hey, there's bronze, silver, and gold. Maybe it's zombie, skeleton, and vampire. One has one shirt, two shirts, three shirts, and pins and stickers and hats and all that kind of stuff. So
and the cool thing about that is you're all cross promoting, so everybody's saying, hey, get the subscription box, all of you guys, and so you're getting all of this big or much larger audience, and all of you are getting a piece of that. That's super smart.
Yeah, and the idea with it is I've got enough that I could just do monsters and Martians. Like with a catalog of over 1,000 pieces of art, it'd be very easy to say, hey, here's the new piece of art, But what you said is right, is the collaborators that I'm working with are very much the weird mindset, like growing up in the 70s and 80s. They're in the 60s, and like funked out rat finks and weirdos and Mad Magazine. And, we could so easily tie all this stuff together. Like, hey, here's a Dirty Donnie poster with a Monsters and Martians hat and a spicy donut, couple of pins, and
totally
surprise box type of thing. So
that's very cool. That's super exciting.
It's super cool. Another thing that I saw, Ken, that Travis actually posted to our Facebook group today is that you were actually able to give testimony before the Trademark Public Advisory Committee. So how did that come about? What exactly was the impetus behind you having the opportunity to speak in front of that committee?
Oh boy, do we really want to go down the road of talking about trademarks? We could be here till 10 o'clock tonight.
That's why we're here, I suppose. So let's do it.
This is my Dr. Jekyll and Hyde type of thing going on. Big into POD, big into my brand, but as you guys know, it goes back to Mama Bear pissed me off one day. And somebody is trying to trademark Mama Bear. And I had a good selling Mama Bear shirt. And I figured out that letters of protest were a free way to protest trademark applications. And I can remember the night sitting around, I think it was with Chris Green and Neil, maybe a few others, Hamza, Michael Essick. And I'm like, you know what? I'm making a group. I'm making a trademark watchdogs group. And we're going to start fighting people with letters of protest. I think the first night I put it up, we had 1,000 or 1,500 members already.
Wow.
And that group's up over almost 34,000 members now. And what has evolved since 2018 is the process of going beyond just letters of protest, but giving the small business person that doesn't have a lot of money to fight these trademarks, to fight what's going on in the industry by themselves, a place, a kind of a sounding board, right? They can walk in and say, I'm getting brutalized by this. This trademark, or by this company or that company, and be able to shoot it off people and say, how can I do something here? And we've been very cautious about attorneys in the group because they can be very predatory. But we now have some really good attorneys in the group. A couple of them are actually ex-examiners from the USPTO. So they know what they're talking about. A law professor from the University of San Diego. And so this thing is just snowballed to the point where there's 34,000 people in the group talking about trademarks. And, Etsy got hit with this and Amazon got hit with this. And can I list this? And how can I fight this new application? And we've got one lady in the group that Tuesdays and Saturdays, she posts 2 great big newsletters every week. They're just fabulous. One is like new applications, and the next one is newly registered and canceled. And you can quickly look at the list every week that applies to our specific classes and say, are these things that are affecting me? And so what has rolled out from there is, I can't say the USPTO likes us much.
They should. You're doing their job for them.
They should, but don't. And what has happened is when we found out this letter of protest thing, that it was free, that it was a way that we could gather evidence, give them evidence to why these trademarks should not be registered. Well, they went from, 1,000 letters of protest in a year to 3,000. Well,
wow.
And to them, administrative, here's the goggles. They've got the wrong goggles on. Their stack of letters in a year went from 1,000 to 3,000. And all of a sudden, this poor secretary is having to open 3,000 letters or open up 3,000 emails. And they see it as a burden. Like, this is an administrative burden. And we'll put them out to the examiner looking at them. Well, the examiner, of course, likes the information because this is information they didn't have against the trademark, and they can evaluate it and look at it. Well, the next thing they do is, we need to put in a $300 fee for letters of protest. because it's costing us so much to do this. The
'Cause of
only
the
reason
admin.
they were doing that was to kill our group, to kill the number of applications. They know we're small business. And I'm going to go through about a 5-minute spiel here as to what the testifying is. And this is the background. So here they want to charge a fee. We bitch enough about it that they move it to $50. Okay, so it's now $50. That got passed through Congress and all this fun stuff. So now we have to pay $50 a letter of protest. Okay, that sucks, but people, if it's hitting your business, will do that.
Yeah.
And we do have an attorney in group now that will actually sign off on her legal company. If we pay the fee and we gather the evidence, they will sign off on it and send it in with an official, attorney's signature, which carries weight as well. So in this process where we're talking about how they need to charge a fee, is just recently in the last couple of months, they've been working for 2 years on increasing fees across the USPTO and the Patent Office. So they want to increase fees on the trademark cost, on, renewing your trademark, on oppositions, and the letter of protest. So now they want to take it to $250. Okay. So because their theory of what they're saying is administratively, it is costing them, I think they said $312 per letter of protest to process. Okay. Now hold your horses here. As they put this out, they're having a public hearing, which occurred yesterday. They put out for people that wanted to give formal testimony, and they also still have right now a link until I think the 15th that you can file a written formal comment on any of these fee increases. So we're encouraging the group right now to write their comments on why you disagree. And you can probably find that link if you're searching in the watchdogs right now.
Well, if you'll get it afterwards, after we're done, get us that link. We'll put it in the show notes for everybody to see.
So I put in to give oral testimony, right, remotely. Well, I think about, I don't know, right, the day I put it in back on, I want to say back in May, I got an email saying, you'll be provided details on how to connect and all, all this stuff. Well, yesterday morning, I get an email from one of the attorneys and she's like, good luck presenting. And I'm like, I haven't heard from them. As far as I know, I'm not presenting. So, well, you're on the agenda. So
an email would be nice.
It's starting at 10 o'clock. And here I am at 8:30 in the morning saying, I don't have an email. I don't have a link.
Wow.
And so I'm contacting the USPTO and they're like, oh, I guess our mistake. And I'm like,
sure.
Give me info. Oh yeah. You get 5 minutes. I'm like, can I get a link?
Right.
And so finally they give me a link. And, between me and this San Diego law professor, we put together what I presented. And luckily I got to present last. There were 5 people that presented live and then I presented remotely.
Wow.
And we got to listen to the USPTO, and this ties into it. They went through their presentation explaining the fee increases and why they needed to increase. And they really hammered on the letter of protest, talking about, letters of protest. You have to understand that we went from 1,000 in whatever year to 4,000 last year. And of those letters of protest, 75% are accepted because some are rejected because they're not done right. And I get that. So 75% are accepted. And then they go, and of that, only about, I can't even remember, 25% actually play a part in getting an application rejected. Okay. So here I'm sitting and saying, you do over 600,000 trademark applications a year. Okay. And they even explained in those applications, part of the reason they're not making the money they're supposed to is because 75% of trademark applications they have found are filed by small businesses and individuals that have less than 10 trademarks. And those individuals have a very low rate of renewing their trademark afterwards, which is where the trademark industry, the USPTO, collects funds when you renew your trademark. So these are trademarks that are going to fall off. And part of that is the industry that's going on with us. All of these bully trademarks that are frivolous, the Chinese come in and trademark 1,000 phrases.
Right.
And it's only because popular phrases right now in the market are popular and they want to monopolize them. and hit Merch by Amazon and hit Redbubble and hit Amazon with all these takedowns because they have a registration. But in 3 years, who cares? Because nobody remembers the phrase.
The trend is gone.
Yeah, and the USPTO brought that up. And so here I am sitting thinking before I give my presentation, I'm saying,
you're welcome.
25% of them were valid. I said, flip the coin here. How much money, how many millions of dollars did those 25% save because you canceled frivolous marks that may have been registered without the letter of protest?
Right.
Like, stop thinking of this as an administrative cost to the USPTO, and it is a value to the business marketplace of the United States.
Right. One of the things, so I read some of the some of your testimony, and one of the things at the very end, you said something like, so we're actually helping you, blah, blah, blah. We're giving you data to your trademark attorneys that they wouldn't have otherwise. So if you still increase this thing, at least let our trademark attorneys use Google in their determination of whether this mark is. That's insane. Are you telling me that those trademark attorneys can't do a simple Google search and see what's out there with that mark on it?
Okay, here's what goes on. And I was corrected because I know the 1X trademark attorney, she's recently, like in the last year, left. She would use Google. And I had another trademark examiner that said, yeah, I mean, I use Google, but in this and that.
Because that infuriated me.
No, but it still should infuriate you, because not all of them do. And if they do, and I made this comment because the one commented on Twitter, there's a bit of a conversation going on. I said, well, if they are using Google, they're not searching for the right things.
They're not very good
because they're not finding the obvious things, especially apparel trademarks. Right. These crazy, I love my dog in the summer trademarks.
Yeah, or
they're obviously not typing in that phrase and going and looking at the images and seeing 10,000 listings for that phrase. You are not doing it right. And that's why it was a zinger, because here you are, USPTO, wanting to make this an administrative cost that needs to be covered. But yet that, if you make it $250, 99.9% of the people that are filing letters of protest right now will not do it. They're out of the game. They can't do it anymore. And that's where the zinger came, was, if you can't figure this out, why don't you just give them Google and get rid of the letter of protest in the beginning? Because the USPTO examiner, their search really focuses on stuff that's within their database. They're not really looking outside to look at the market like we are. They're looking to see, were there previous applications, are there current applications, are there current registrations that seem to mix and would be confused with this application. And they're just tunnel visioned. They got the horse goggles on, plowing forward, getting their stack off their desk. And what we're saying is, use our group, use 33,000 people. I can guarantee if you gave us any phrase in the apparel or merchandise industry, within 2 minutes, we would have a stack of evidence to show you what to look at. And you make the decision, you make the judgment, but we know how to find the information. And what you're doing right now, and that's why we stated about the First Amendment, is here's a court case that shows you're giving a chill effect to us being able to provide you protest information. You're closing that by putting a fee.
At the end of the day, and I feel like you would agree with this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Those letters of protest, even though maybe a percentage of them are created correctly, or end up not actually supporting, an actual protest to a trademark registration, you are, or whoever's creating these letters of protest, they're basically taking work off of those lawyers. I mean, you're doing some of the work for them. So why in the hell would you increase the cost when you're actually saving them money? I mean, it's
because they are looking at it through these goggles of fiscal responsibility and saying, it costs my secretary an hour, the admin assistant an hour to open it and review it and check if it's right. It takes another hour to move it to the examiner. Oh, our examiner gets paid $225 an hour. Well, they got to review it for a half hour, so we'll tack on some money there. And then they're saying, because 25% get rejected, that was money that we had to spend on our staff to even look at your protest. Well, there's a fundamental problem here. You're forgetting what country we live in. We live in a country that has the ability to protest government change. And that is a right to us living in this country. We are allowed to stand before a public hearing and give our protest. Well, now you're charging us a fee to do that. You're missing something here, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you feel?
500%, you know, a multiple of what it costs right now. I mean, that, you know, you're
400%
increasing
increase.
it. Yeah, that's insane. You know, I mean, so, and from, when was it, there was a time when it didn't cost anything to file.
It was free before our group started hammering them with letters of protest. and we know we're the reason they put the fee in. And they have also changed the rules along the way. Like, well, you can't quite submit it that way, or you can't submit it that way, or you have to have it indexed this way, like making up rules as they go along to make it tougher to do. And conversations I've had, they don't like us. I mean, we've been to other public hearings and asked questions and, you know, gotten the rolled eyes in the air by the commissioner. And, you know, the attitude we get is, you guys aren't attorneys, so let the big boys play. And I've even
the big boys need to know how to Google some shit, obviously.
Well, and that's why I put that zinger in 30 seconds before I'm like, oh, I got a new 30 seconds before I presented. I'm like, I got to add this at the end. And it was directed at Commissioner Gooder. And I'm like, if this is what you're saying, I'm using your words today. You want a better register, you want this, this, and this. Well, you need to look at it this way or that way. Or why don't you give Google to your examiners? You know, like, what are we still living in 1991 when you made your website? Have you ever looked at the USPTO website? Like, come on, this is kind of a disgrace, buddy. And that's 100%. The point we're at. And, you know, what's going to happen from it? They've said, you know, they're going to take this, they're going to review it. They have another public hearing. It's not like this is happening tomorrow. Even if this went through, changes wouldn't happen until like November 2024. But we need to be on it now, because if that moves to $250, there's no more letters of protest. I was actually looking at the comments today. The American Red Cross, their legal department, submitted a formal letter talking about this is substantial. Like, you can't do this. The Red Cross uses the letter of protest to combat people putting in other registrations that will infringe on the Red Cross's registrations.
Wow. So I know we are going way long, but I'm curious. You said there were 5 other people that testified, or 4 other besides? Okay, however
5 other people.
I'm curious. Was it along the same lines? I mean, were they, you know, kind of protesting this? And if so, did they have the same angle? Okay, nobody was supporting it. Did they have the same angle as you were presenting, or did they have a completely different angle?
Well, this is across the board fee increases for the USPTO. So you had legal firms and the you know, the international patent or the trademark association.
It wasn't just the LOPs.
Oh yeah, they were saying this is prohibitive to small client. Like, and here's backing up. Is that point I made about the USPTO in the presentation said 75% of our trademarks are small business and one-off individual owners. Read that back to yourself, buddy. You just said the majority of your business is small business, and the point coming out was you're going to kill small business from getting trademarks.
Right.
And some of the others talked about letter of protest, but they were mainly stepping forward and saying, I registered 10,000 trademarks in 10 years, and you're going to kill off my clientele with this kind of a raise, you know? And so it was across the board discussion. Mine was focused on letter of protest. Like, I'm going to hit you right now. And I let them have it on the phone before. They were giving me the info. I said, well, you know, I'm not going to accuse you of this, but I have a group of 33,000 people that don't really like the USPTO, and perception is reality on what just occurred.
Right.
You're telling me I don't have details to appear for this testimony, and I would have walked out the door and did other things in another half hour
Yep.
And when you came up to my name, it would be Ken Reil from the Trademark Watchdogs. Is Ken here? Is Ken here? Bueller.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I would have looked the
Yeah.
case of the fool, and they would have been able to go to their coffee table and say, "See, they're all bark.
Yep.
They're all they put their name on there and don't show up."
Yep.
Yeah.
And I accused them of it. I said, "Perception's reality here, lady."
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say when you first mentioned that you didn't know about it till half hour before. It's like, well, that is convenient, so that they can paint the
Right.
picture that you just don't care and you've abdicated this supposed, stance that you hold so strongly, and then you don't show up to the debate. So it's very, like you said, it's very, perception is reality. It's very convenient that they just slipped their minds to send you a link to show up to the thing that you would potentially make a difference here.
Yeah, I did find out that it sounds like the other testifiers were also not notified.
Really?
Eric Pelton, the guy that presented first, I guess, found out a few days ago by looking at the agenda. It's like, oh, here's people that may have flown into DC to give testimony.
Sure.
You're not giving them details. Like, I found out that morning from an attorney who said, "Congratulations, good luck."
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my underwear like,
so
good luck
ridiculous.
what?
How can you see me right now? What is happening? Yeah.
So
That's wild. That's wild. So, I mean, overall, Ken, how do you think that it went as far as your testimony, and then in your mind with this in the forefront of what could be coming? What do you think is the future? What does the future hold for the trademark and copyright industry as a whole?
To be blunt, an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
I mean, the trademark, especially as you see in apparel and merchandise, it is so cutthroat. And these registrations that are going forward and are going to go forward are not being used the way trademarks should be used in an industry. The only reason they're getting them is they know that all of these platforms we use, like if you list your stuff on Amazon and somebody has a registration, they're just going to file it to Amazon and say, take it all down. Even though
Amazon doesn't,
the way the Amazon
doesn't care. They simply they don't want to be in the middle of it. So if you have a registered trademark, or even they will take your shit down.
Completely false.
100%. Even if it's in the wrong category. Ken.
I know. Well, we're getting things now that the guy has a registration in the country of Slovakia and wants to claim on the U.S. and Amazon. Yep, just take it down.
Yep, sure, take it down. Take it down. Our hands are off. Our hand, we're clean.
So this is just an absolute spider's web going on right now of abuse in the industry. I mean, abuse coming from China, it's massive. Like the abuse coming to the USPTO from China is just absurd. Mm-hmm. The attack on platforms, Redbubble, Merch, Threadless, any one of them is being attacked. The USPTO want to increase prices and don't like the group and want to stifle what the group's doing because you're a pain in the ass. Right up to things like I'm starting a fight myself. I trademarked Monsters and Martians. Mm-hmm. It just went through publication a month ago. On the last day of the publication for opposition, guess who opposed it? Monster Energy. Because Monster Energy opposes
everything that has
monster. The word monster, with the word energy, with any claw. They don't. If you go look at the listing, it would make you sick what they oppose. And they're not going to win them, but they know they got bigger bank accounts than you. Yeah. And they figure most people that are getting, like Monsters and Martians, I'm a little guy. Right. Their bet is if they oppose me, I will walk away because I don't want to spend 10 grand trying to take them to the point where they say, well, yeah, I guess we're wrong. It's, you showed my art. Are you confused that is coming from Monster Energy?
Yeah.
and their trademarks are in energy drinks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already spent the first $3,000 or $4,000 to write the letter of, response and to set up the discovery.
Well, what'll show them, Ken, is if you eventually, create a Monsters and Martians energy drink after you get through it, that'll really just, show them.
No, I want nothing to do with it.
I know.
I will never buy a Monster Energy or Coca-Cola product again in my life.
It's ridiculous. I have
I'm
seen
done.
the Monster thing, the Monster Energy thing, and it is absolutely
They're going after video games like
freaking ridiculous.
God of Monsters. Oh, it's got monsters in the name. Titty Monster. I just posted that in the group. They
No
oppose
way.
Titty Mon. So, you know, Rip and Dip with the pull down cat. Well, a guy has a little ugly stick figure with big boobs and a finger, and put it there. And so when you pull down the shirt, it's got boobs and a finger. Right? It's called Titty Monster. Well,
Okay.
Monster Energy is opposing it. Did you know they're opposing monster diapers? Monster-sized diapers for adults that want to act like children, right? That wear diapers. They're opposing monster diapers. Like, the list is pages and pages and pages. You so much as use the word, they're just as bad or worse than Under Armour.
Yeah.
And that's another bad one that somebody had to fight and spend $50,000 fighting Under Armour. So that's the other thing. Right now, I'm in a fight with Monster Energy.
Well,
for my brand, Monsters and Martians.
I don't blame you, and we wish you all of the luck.
Yes.
Because that's insane. Now, I was going to ask you about, the Trademark Watchdog group, but I feel like you've, shared with that. I want to encourage all of our listeners, go join that group, read up on it. I mean, it's, I feel like trademarks and copyright and all of that stuff is so, it's just intimidating, I think, to a small business owner. And I think what that group has done has like given a platform and a group of people that are so willing to share and their experiences and their knowledge that it really kind of dumbs it down in a way to where anybody can kind of understand it. You can understand the process of what it takes to get a trademark or a copyright, and what is the, what is the step 1, step 2, step 3. So it's not as intimidating. And hell, go file an LOP, when somebody something in here, hey, somebody's trying to, do a trademark or a copyright on Live, Laugh, Love, I mean, come on. Give me a damn break. But I would not put it past them. That's the crazy.
Go look. They have, and it's either abandoned or dead, and that's why I'm putting these up. But and we do other things in the group where somebody like, okay, good example is Just a Girl Who Loves. I know the guy that created that phrase, and he created it because another phrase was trademarked, and now somebody's trying to trademark it. And so what I said is, there's nothing out there that says Just a Girl Who Loves, and that's the trick they're using. Of course, you use it with coffee and dogs and but they're now trademarking the partial phrase to take down the full phrase. And so what I tell the group of 33,000 to do is, okay, everybody go put out a shirt that says Just a Girl Who Loves, and put a rooster on it or put an elephant on it, but don't mention what it is. Just put a picture and flood the market. So, but yeah, I'm a little black and white. I can be a little abrasive. I don't have a lot of time for messing around with bullshit. And that's kind of how I run the group. And some of the members will get a little abrasive too when you come in with, hey, I'm going to trademark this phrase. And it's like, yeah, sure you are. But there's a ton of knowledge in that group now. People have become experts on this thing. They're not attorneys. They can only give you opinions, but boy, you can come in and know nothing, ask a question, and learn a whole bunch of stuff within a couple of hours. So.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow, dude. We were going to do magic questions, but we are.
We always do this, don't we?
This is so, I love it, man. I love talking to you, Ken, because you have so much, really unique perspective on this stuff, and you're like in the trenches, which is so cool. I mean, I'm out here doing my own print on demand thing, and I mean, I'll see some of the posts. Obviously, I saw the post about you testifying in front of the committee, but I think I filed one letter of protest years ago, and I do have my own trademarks, or I have my own copyrights on a couple of brands that I've sold on Amazon. And so I've gone through the process, but man, this really brings it home to like what we are doing in print on demand. I mean, you can't copyright Live, Laugh, Love. I mean, shut up, dude. I mean, come on.
But what? You could lose a whole big portion of your business overnight and be blindsided by somebody that does trademark.
That does it. Exactly. And so this is, so yeah, I mean, I will just scream this, forever. Guys,
I
this is
stand up with the
important.
group and basically say, punch me in the face. I'll take it in the face. Like, I'll stand in front of the USPTO and get punched. I'll get punched by this person. I don't care. I'm big enough to take it. And I'll stand up and be the barrier. And here's the 33,000 people behind me. Let's go get them. So,
yeah. Love your stance. Love your, just advocating for all of us, people who don't think about it. Maybe we should, but we don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. So we really appreciate you coming on and sharing, what you're doing, what's going on in the community, and then like what we can do as print on demand sellers. How can we help? Well, join the frickin' group, get educated, understand it, file a letter of protest when you see some BS crap happening. Facebook.com/groups Trademark Watchdogs, and it's DAWGS because Ken wanted to make it he didn't want to make it trademarkable, I guess. So he did DAWGS, but search that out. You'll find it in Facebook. Join the group and get educated.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Ken. And like I said, hopefully we can have a quick recap after the trademark. I forget the name of the convention.
A year or two.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. How long
it's
is
government. How fast do they go?
After the next public hearing, after the second one.
I was talking about the trade show in Vegas.
Oh, the licensing expo.
The licensing
That's
expo.
way cooler.
That's what I meant.
That's next week.
That's what I meant. Yeah, I didn't think, man, we didn't need to wait a year for that. But I mean, if you want, we could be waiting another 135 episodes to find out what's going on if you can. But I'd like to make it shorter. I'd like to make the window of time a little shorter. But thanks again for hopping on, and best of luck next week.
Yep.
And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
We want to thank Ken once again, that rhymes, for coming on to the show, taking time out, and so much stuff was said. I mean, we didn't count on it going that long, but he warned us when we asked the trademark question as far as the public advisory committee. But talk about a fascinating place to find yourself, to be talking in front of a committee that's, government trying to affect change for the little man, like you said, the little guys, those of us that are going to be just drastically and adversely affected by this particular thing if it passes through. That was fascinating.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love talking to Ken. As you could tell, I was like geeking out. We could have gone another hour after we pressed stop on the recording. I geeked out again, and I was like, oh my gosh, Ken, this was so good. I could have talked to him forever, and blah 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 blah. He's a wealth of knowledge, and really enjoyed that conversation, because I mean at the end of the day, this affects all of us, in the print on demand game. This really is important, and he's not just like saying, hey, this is important. He's actually doing things. He's testifying in front of committees and stuff that are going to make these decisions. And my goodness, wow, what a fun interview that was, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I said at the top of the show in the intro, you're going to want to watch and listen to this again. There's just so much stuff and relevant information that you need to know. And if you are someone who maybe you weren't aware of what's happening as far as the Trademark Public Advisory Committee, maybe you are just getting into the business and you have a passion to learn about trademarks and copyright, join the Facebook group. And I mean, leverage that group for knowledge, to learn. Like Ken said, you can learn a lot in your first just dive into that group. But it's definitely something. Yeah. Facebook.com/groups/trademark watchdogs. That's DAWGS. But go check that out, because it's definitely one of those things where a lot of folks, there's a lot of people in the industry that don't know a whole lot about this particular subject. I know, Travis, you and I, we know enough to get us in trouble, but then not know how to file the LOP to get us out. So basically, but if you want to be advantageous to your community, even your direct sphere of of friends who maybe are in the business in your friend group, if you learn about trademark and copyright law and really just immerse yourself in it, talk about an advantage. You'll be so advantageous to your friends, even to your own business, because there's just so much to know, and there's a lot that people don't know. And if you want to educate yourself on that, the Facebook group is definitely a place to do that.
That was awesome.
Totally. I 100% agree. Yeah. So go join the group, go get yourself learned, and, do something about this, because there are a lot of people out there who are just bad actors, and
For sure.
they're doing stupid crap that just has no bearing. And unfortunately, our USPTO, U.S. Trademark and Patent Office, they just don't. I don't think that they have the understanding of what it means to people like us who are trying to
Right.
just, make a buck, on live, laugh, love. I mean,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And so every single day there are new applications, and some of them are legitimate, and most of them probably are legitimate, but there are those certain bad actors that we just need to battle, and I think I love that that's what the trademark watchdogs are doing. And Ken is, right at the forefront, and so glad to have him on as our guest, to kind of share a little bit about that and create more awareness. So yeah, I can't say it enough. Go join their group, learn yourself some, trademark and copyright info, and you'll be better off for it. I think in the end is what we're trying to say.
Absolutely, 100%. And also, while you're checking stuff out from the episode, go check out Monsters and Martians. We'll have the links in the notes. Lots of cool stuff there. If you're into that kind of horror aesthetic, rockabilly aesthetic, that kind of vibe. We talked recently about a niche, and what is a niche? Talk about a niche that he has stumbled upon and really delved into. I know a lot of friends of mine in college that were in theater with me. A lot of them loved that whole aesthetic and that whole vibe. And so there definitely is a market out there. And I think that he's going to do awesome. And again, hopefully we'll find out how he did in Vegas on Tuesday, the expo there. And hopefully there's some good news coming from that. Part of me thinks, though, it's kind of like American Idol, right? Like the judges, you get to glean off of them and you get to be around industry experts. But the people who win those competitions usually don't have the best career out of the people who are on the show. So if he doesn't, maybe that's good. Maybe he'll just have more leverage. I don't know. Maybe it's a false equivalency and I'm just talking completely out of turn. Pressure. So we'll see, though. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening.
Attention, Hotline fans.
If you want to find more out about the podcast, there's another group you should join. PrintOnDemandCast.com/Facebook is where you can join our Facebook group. And if you have any questions, is Ken a part of that group, Travis?
Yes, he sure is. And he actually comments every once in a while.
Okay, yeah. So if you have a question for Ken, you can, of course, go to his Facebook group. You should join that as well. But if you're a part of our Facebook group and want to ask him a question, feel free to tag him as well. Or if you have any insight into trademark, maybe you know something that we don't know, which is possible, because Travis and I don't claim to be experts. We don't promise perfection, but as promised, progress for all of you in your businesses. So, but do us a favor, join our group as well. You can follow us on Instagram, or printondemandcast.com/Instagram, and YouTube as well. printondemandcast.com/YouTube is where you can find the show there. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, wherever you're listening to this, wherever there are podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. We just ask that you would leave us a review of some sort, whether it's a star review or a star review and a comment. It is greatly appreciated because it really does help us get this information out to those people who need it. And if you know someone specifically that has been craving, starving, hungry for information about trademark and copyright, or maybe someone that's currently butting their head against a wall against one of these frivolous trademark claims and they don't know what to do, send them this podcast because they need this information. This specific episode is going to be very advantageous for them. So do them a favor, do us a favor, and spread this knowledge, and it will be greatly, greatly appreciated. And lastly, printondemandcast.com is where you can go to sign up for the weekly newsletter. You got 2 dad jokes in this episode because we had a guest. Would you like a third? I'll tell you how to get that third. You go to printondemandcast.com and you just sign up for the newsletter. You'll get a third dad joke this week. And we know, Travis and I know, we don't take offense. It was our idea to bring the segment onto the show. We know that the reason you guys tune in every week is for a new dad joke. And so we also know that's the impetus behind you signing up for the newsletter. And again, we've made our peace with that because it was our idea. So we pat ourselves on the back for doing that. But if you guys want a third dad joke and more information, more tips, more tricks, more industry news, sign up for that newsletter. Again, printondemandcast.com. And Travis, anything else before we put a bow on this one and wrap it up?
I want to win.
You know what I mean? That's really why we had Ken on, because we all want to win. We all want to get our our designs out there and not have frivolous trademark applications kind of screwing with that and takedowns and all that garbage. This was a great episode. I was really glad to have Ken on. I don't have anything else to say except for what I've said like 500 times already. So yeah, Josiah, take it away, bro.
All right. Well, that being said, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Go Nuggets.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.